accident. Creating individual success is like having a recipe for a great meal. It only works if you know how to use the ingredients. As a best-selling author, entrepreneur, business coach, strategist, and champion, the Lewis Howard Live Show provides you the insider's view on winning. All we do is win, 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 helping you become the best version of yourself. Good afternoon, good evening, or wherever you are listening to the show. Thank you for joining in to another edition of Lewis Howard Live. And of course, I'm Lewis Howard, author, business entrepreneur, business owner, father, leader, coach, do a lot of different things in life. Chef, like to cook, sing. Yeah, I had the hobby of singing. If some of you that know me know I like to do that too. Life's all about having fun. You only get one life, and you might as well make it good because there are no do-overs. Every now and then, someone crosses your path in life and really leaves a impact and a legacy. I've had many of those people in my life that I've crossed paths with and really have left a imprint on my thinking, on my philosophy, on my business, mentors, coaches, real estate dads, good friends, good people. And when you have that, that person sticks with you. And our today's subject person does just that. When you think of this individual, you think about energy. Now, most of you know the topic of the show already, so you know where I'm going. But when you think of this individual, you think of energy, you think of enthusiasm, you think of motivation in a very competitive sports environment and arena. He has demonstrated more than just coaching, but he's really demonstrated a philosophical leadership principle that not only will change you now if you're an athlete on his team, but it'll change you for the rest of your life. And even if you didn't get the privilege of being coached by him, you still have that impact. The last person I can think of personally that would have had such a big impact was a coach named John Wooden, who was a coach at UCLA and coached some of the greatest basketball players we have seen. Bill Walton, just to name, a few people that have come out of his program. The great Wilt Chamberlain. I mean, many of these people had leadership under John Wooden and affects them. I believe that Pete Carroll, our featured leader for this show, demonstrates that. And he was doing it long before he became the coach of the Seahawks. He was the coach at USC. He had won championships. He was on several NFL teams. And, talk about didn't look like you were going where, he was on the Jets and he was with the Patriots and he got let go on those teams. But he wasn't ready to let go, right? As Geno Smith, the quarterback, says, people wrote me off, but I didn't write back. So I thought as a tribute to Pete Carroll today, I would go through his Create to Compete seminar, book, leadership module that he did with Dr. Michael Gervais, which both of them worked together on the Seattle Seahawks for a number of years together. And I believe that what I'll share out of the takeaways is not everything, but it's a pretty big picture of why the man was so successful for 14 seasons, why he won a Super Bowl, why he could take some of the most difficult players, put them together, why he could take people from a 5th round draft selection, 6th round draft selection, and make them one of the top position players in their field. I think we're going to get a little bit of insight. So if you're a football fan, that's great. If you're a Seahawk fan, it's even better. But if you're a leader, if you're leading people, you're leading your children, if you're leading church, if you're leading groups, wherever you are as a leader, I believe that the principles of create to compete can help you do that. So enough said. We're going to jump on as my new format has been is to put me in the background and then walk through the slide deck with you and highlighting some of the cause, the background of what it means create to compete. And again, as I said, this is a tribute to Pete Carroll. I mean, if you are not from Seattle and you listen to this show, you missed a treat with him because he just has phenomenal energy. He 72 years old, first of all. He wasn't talking about retiring AARP, what most people are talking about at 72. He ain't having that conversation, man. The things that you hear in the backstory. I was privileged to work with the Seahawks, a lot of their players and coaches before. And so I know the culture of the organization and how they take care of people. But Pete Carroll, when he came here and or came to Seattle, 2010, he took that to a whole nother level. But he had been doing great things long before that. So we're just going to go through the create to compete because I think that was kind of the central mantra, central core of the principles of which he taught. And again, this was in partnership with Dr. Michael Gervais, and you can find it on Amazon. Some of the books, Finding Your Best, and it really is a blueprint to unlock you, right? We all have a best of us inside of us. And a blueprint is sort of a guide place. It's not the be end all. If any of you have ever built a house, you know you start with a blueprint. You don't start throwing sticks in there and framing and doing things. You have a blueprint that's basically a guide, a roadmap. And so really create to compete is really you creating a roadmap to your success, right? Many of us, and I'm talking to myself, we get stuck in certain places. Or we have, as Tim Story talks about, he says, low ceilings. You only think you can go to a certain level. Maybe because some things that you've been through, maybe because of how you grew up, maybe because of what people have told you. I know people have told me some things that would not have got me out the gate had I continued to listen to that. So this series really that they put together was really about you finding the best part of you. And I'm going to apologize to Dr. Michael. I think I misspelled name instead of C of H, which anybody you know, I'm kind of common to do that. But anyway, we'll continue to walk through, and let's start out with what are some of the takeaways that they talked about on living this life of purpose and creating. Number one is passion. Pete talked about that you have to have passion. And passion is that drive, that force that causes you to get up for a moment, to get up for the day, to get up for the month, to get up for the year. I like to think of passion as drive, right? It's that energy. A lot of people today, they're lacking passion. They have developed a indifference. And if you're going to live a life of purpose and compete to create, you got to have the passion. And he talks about that. And you could see that reflected many times when Pete was on the field, running up and down the field. He's famous for chewing the gum and that passion, high-fiving players as they come off the field, consoling or comforting them when they made a bad play. It's just his passion for the game. So you got to have passion. What are you passionate about? Right? And will that help you create what you want to be? I know people can be passionate about many things. Some people are passionate about politics. They're passionate about food. They're passionate about fashion. They're passionate about fun. They're passionate about different things. But if you're not passionate in the right area, I'm not sure that it will help you get to the place you ultimately want to be. The other takeaway was no knockdown mindset. This one was very interesting to me because in the sports field in NFL, you're going to get knocked down. If you are running back and you got the ball, you're going to get knocked down. You're going to get hit. You're going to come in. In life, you're going to get knocked down. There's no such thing as going through life with no knockdowns. So he wasn't saying no knockdown, that you don't get knocked down, but you don't have a knockdown mindset. You don't go through life expecting to get knocked down. I'm expecting to win. I'm expecting to get to the finish line. I'm expecting to do the big deal. I'm expecting to have a good spouse. I'm expecting to have a good family. I'm not going expecting the knockdown. If it comes, it comes, but it's not my mindset to have a knockdown mentality. Leading others to passion, right? So it's one thing for me to be energized, but can I energize other people? We see this sometimes in leaders. While the leader themselves are very energized, very animated, they are not translating that to others. Others are not picking up their passion. Others are not picking up their energy. Pete was able to translate that to the team in their own distinct way. It's not like all the team members were running up and down the field chewing bubblegum like he was, but he taught them to take their position, their job, their role, and be passionate about what they did on the field. Be passionate about the team, be passionate about the goals. Um, I will probably remove people out of my life if I've got people that are just not passionate, because it's tough if I'm the only passionate one in the room. I'm the only energetic one in the room. It's a little tough. Like I said, I like to sing sometimes. And then sometimes when you're looking at people, they're just down in the doldrums. They're just not excited. And you want to get them up. So sometimes I'll just turn up the heat a little bit on the song because I want to get them engaged. I want to help other people succeed. My best day, my best life is when you help other people succeed. How about you? Do you like to help other people reach your passion? Or is it just about you? Is it just me, my, and I? And you know what? That's okay, because some people have that mentality. But Pete Carroll demonstrates and compete to create. You must have a passion to help people. You got to know yourself. And this was another interesting point that they made. It's about knowing yourself. And he talks about knowing what you do and why you do certain things, right? Why do you like to eat certain foods? Okay. Now, those questions might sound obvious. Why do you like to drive certain cars? Why do you like to do certain jobs? Why do you like to date certain people? Right? Why? You got to know your why. That's when you know yourself, and then through that you will learn your limitations and learn your boundaries. Many people, including myself, are still overcoming things that were taught as a young child. And you grew up with those habits and those patterns, and you didn't understand why, right? Is some people very good with money, and why are the people's not good with money? It's not because the other person that's not good is not smart with money. It's they weren't taught the principles of money. You can't be good at something that you weren't taught. So a lot of us have to kind of give ourselves a break, because part of our why came from somebody else. It came from school, it came from a parent, it came from an environment, but you have to have your own why, which means you have to question yourself. Why do I do this? And you got to take that time privately to do that. Then when you know yourself, then you can help other people. You can't just go out and be imitation, right? You can't just go out and represent other people. I know people that do this, right? Okay, great. You wore the Seahawks jersey or you wore the 49ers jersey, but you're not a 49er. You're you. Okay. You can go out and try to imitate Taylor Swift or imitate somebody, but you're you. So you've got to be the best you. And again, that's what Compete to Create does, is it helps you unlock you. Because what you're going to find inside of yourself, when you unlock yourself, there is an amazing person inside of you. I don't care if you're 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, or 90. It's still time to unlock you. Dreams have no expiration date. Visions have no expiration date. Contrary to what AARP might want to tell you or Social Security might want to say, you can get to know yourself at any time and become that best version of yourself. Next takeaway was, how far will you go? How far will you go to care for someone else? This is a real challenge in America right now because we have people at the top of their life, their game. Then we have people at the bottom, people that are stuck. Or you've got people that are on your team, in your crew, in your company, in your organization, that they're not living their best self. They're not competing to create. That they are just getting along by going along. And sometimes they need help. When somebody falls, will you be there to help? Somebody loses a family member. And again, I've shared on previous stories on shows that, when I lost a son, and I was expecting people to go far up and above than what they did. Maybe that was my wrong expectation, but I just thought people didn't go far enough for what I was investing into the team and the organization that I was working with. No knock on them, but they just didn't deliver. You want to be somebody that delivers. And as a coach and as a leader of a team, you got to be willing to go and care about people's families, care about their situation, right? Michael Jackson wrote a song that they don't really care about us. It's kind of a political activist song. They, being people that were in better positions, more powerful positions, don't care about us, right? We got to show people that we care. I mean, it's a challenge in our Western culture. We got to show each other we care. We can't allow the politicians to teach us how to care for someone else because they don't know how to care for themselves. We can't allow the rich to teach you how to care. You have got to know, how far will I go to care for somebody? A friend of mine, a business partner, and I were having this conversation about a recent story, unfortunately, where a man was saving a stranger and end up losing his own life. And the question out of that was, how far will you go to help a stranger? How far will you go? Right? Did he contemplate that, or did he just jump into that situation that ultimately cost him his own life? How far will you go to help someone? So we're talking about this: compete to create, living the life of purpose, unlocking the blueprint that unlocks you. Okay. All right. So the next one is clarity. Right. A lot of talk lately about clarity. Okay. Clarity is just the ability to be able to see distinctly things. It's focus. It's like if I have lens on and my lens are a little bit dirty, I don't really have clarity. Or if my mind is clouded all the time with problems and issues and challenges, I don't have clarity. People that are bogged down in problems all the time, very hard to have clarity there. But you've got to have clarity, because a person with clarity can see things other people cannot, which means they can go where other people can't go. If you have clarity, you can see the finish line. That means you know where you're going. People that have confusion, right, or contradictions constantly, or double-mindedness in their thinking, they don't have clarity. So Pete and Dr. Gervais talks about, you got to have clarity. You got to be able to see, right? You got to be able to see the potential in other people. You got to see yourself. You got to see situations the way that they really are, not the way you want them to be. The next one is, everyone has a philosophy. I really like this. This was one of my favorite ones. Everyone has a philosophy. What's yours? Okay. Everyone has a way of thinking. Everyone has a way of doing things. And it is not just given to you, it's developed over a period of time. So in your 20s, you're developing a certain philosophy toward people. Teenagers, you're kind of still in between and kind of getting between a teenager and adult. But when you live life long enough, you develop a philosophy. You will have a philosophy about money. You'll have a philosophy about winning. You'll develop a philosophy about women, about men, about children, about marriage, You'll have a philosophy. You may not realize it because you haven't set and audited your thinking, but you have a philosophy. And if you don't have a philosophy for winning, you can't compete, right? You've got to understand what's my philosophy. And again, that's going back to knowing your why. Why do I think this way? Why do I do this way? Why does this thing keep happening to me? Why do I keep rinsing, repeating a certain situation? A lot of it has to do with your philosophy. Why do I keep attracting the same kind of people? Because of your philosophy. Your philosophy to go certain places puts you around certain people. Your philosophy to do certain things. Your philosophy to say certain things. I know people on social media, they love trauma and drama. They love that excitement. That's their philosophy. If it's quiet, it's boring. So their philosophy is, let's stir up something. Let's start a conversation. Okay, that's their philosophy. But Pete talks about that you need to understand the philosophy of everybody around you. You need to understand your philosophy. And that's your first step to being a leader and being able to leadership to compete. Right? You got to have that leadership component to understand not just the way I think. As a leader, when I was a executive with a home development company, I had to learn the philosophy of each one of my sales members team that I manage, because based on their philosophy would determine how they would help us with our common goal. So I needed people on the team that shared our same philosophy, at least in terms of the common goal, because I understood that if I didn't understand the philosophy of each individual agent, one size didn't fit all. All right, guys, we need 10 sales this month. Okay, well, somebody probably heard one sale. If I just make one, their philosophy wasn't to give all; it was just to give enough to get paid. Others were, hey, I want to be the person that wanted to make the 10 sales. That was their philosophy. What is your philosophy about winning? Why aren't you winning more in your life if you're not? Why aren't you earning more and receiving more? Why aren't you happy? Some of that is not just the environment that you're in. Some of that has to do with what is between your philosophy. And Pete talks a lot about the philosophy, the culture, right? So create to compete is a philosophy with built-in principles on how to win. Next one is competition is not about winning. Okay, this is one that kind of threw me a little bit because I always thought about competition because I've been in competition, sports competition, athletic competition, scholarship competitions, just different things, military competition. I have been surrounded by competition, most of my days, and it was all about winning. Okay, but Pete says competition is not about winning; it's about getting better. I remember the great Pat Riley, who coached the Lakers in the 80s. Maybe some of you might remember the Lakers and their winning ways in the 80s. There's a series out on Laker and the winning ways. And Pat Riley, what he used to do is he would have the players compete with themselves. And I took that philosophy and I really followed that, is you don't compete with other people, you compete with yourself. So for example, if you had a free throw of 50% last year, you competed with yourself to get it up to 75% this year. If I made $100,000 last year, now I'm going to compete with myself to get it to 200. I'm not competing with anyone else. I'm competing with my own self. See, if I lost 5 pounds last month, now I'm going to compete this month, see if I can do 7 or 10 pounds. So it's not about winning, it's about getting better. Because guess what happened? As I'm increasing my percentage of free throw, I'm getting better. See, it doesn't even matter who's on the court, I'm getting better. I've gotten better at podcasts. I'm sure if you guys look at some of my early podcasts in 2009, 10, and 11, man, I don't even like to go back and look at those shows. But I compete with myself to try to make every show better informative, more sticky to you, so you have better takeaways, right? I'm competing with myself. Good leaders train their players, their team members, their organization. It's not about winning, okay? Because that's how you hurt people. right? That's how relationships get destroyed. When a husband and wife starts competing with each other, they're going to destroy that relationship. When partners in business start competing with each other, oh, it's going to be problems. Okay, healthy competition is good, but unhealthy competition with each other, it's just not good. It's not wise. And if you're involved in that, I would find a way to get out of that, because it's not going to be good. Find a way to compete with yourself. It's what Pete Carroll did, right? Every day was competition Thursday. Let's see how better you can do. Competition Thursday was one of the things that Pete talked a lot about as a coach. Competition Thursday. We're out there not to see who compete, but who got better from last week, who improved over their statistics from the previous game or the previous practice. So that's a really good one. It's a great takeaway. Help others uncover their potential. Okay. Every good leadership knows that you only win when everybody is at your their strongest, right? The old philosophy is you're only strong as your weakest link. I would say you're only strongest as people who are reaching their maximum potential. Help others uncover their potential because it's hidden. Sometimes people's potential is still undeveloped and they could be carrying some baggage. They could have been told they were not good. I remember when Russell Wilson came as a quarterback, the criticism of him, he's not tall enough to be a quarterback, right? He's 5'11, prototypical quarterback is 6'2. Pete Carroll helped him unleash his potential, and he became one of the most dangerous quarterbacks in the league for a period of time, right? With his run pass option, and he was really tough to deal with. The ability for brilliance in others, excuse me, catch what others are doing, see something good in them, call it out, build a whole campaign around their brilliance. If I see a salesperson or one of my realtors doing something good, I'll call it out and let them kind of build a whole campaign around the ability. Pete used to say, we build a whole game around what we did well, not what we didn't do well. I think that's great. Again, create to compete. The power to be present, the last point, is this is really a challenge right now in our culture because we are so distracted. I'm listening to you, but I'm not hearing you because I'm distracted by probably what's going on this thing. I'm distracted by what's going on around me. One of the things that I practice is to be present. What does that mean? If I'm in a meeting with you, the cell phone, smartphone, the device goes on silent. Okay. If I'm in an office, I sit where I can pay attention to you. I'm easily distracted, right? Because my brain operates at a pretty high level. So I'm always seeing things and think. So you have to be intentional. Pete talks about listening to the players no matter what the issue was, being present to hear their concerns no matter what it was. Maybe it was trivial to you, but it was important to them. Maybe it was important to them, but trivial to you. So it doesn't matter. Being present. I want to challenge you to make an effort when you have to sit down for your next meeting, even have your next phone call. Walk away from anything that is a distraction. Let me just tell you from experience, I know when people are paying attention to me. I know when they're present. I know when they're thinking off. I know when they're looking off, right? So you want to be that person. And I remember a friend of mine, and he's passed recently, last year or two, and he would see me in a restaurant, and I would be talking to me, but I'm looking around at the atmosphere. I'm there listening, but I'm not paying attention. And finally, he said, "You're not even looking me in the eye. You're not even paying attention." Now, imagine if you were Pete Carroll as a coach, and one of your top level players said to you, "You're not even listening to me. You're not even paying attention to me." Do you think that player wants to continue to play for that coach? Even though it may not have been about football, may have been about child born or issue or an incident they had. Do you think they want to continue to play? No, they probably don't. So it's a relationship builder, and it is something great. So these are just some, I think, some really good takeaways from Create to Compete, unlocking you, helping you become the best version of yourself, and the legacy of excellence that Pete has created. And as a thank you, I said, thank you, Pete, for teaching us how to compete, the new definition of how to compete, how to create to compete. And that is a great tool and great legacy to live, and hope that you got something out of that. Probably have to listen to it a couple. There's a lot of points there, but enjoy it. And if your life's all good, give it to somebody else, maybe a young person that could benefit from learning how to compete to win. This is Lewis Howard. You've been listening to another edition of Lewis Howard Live. We'll see you never again on another fantastic program helping you become the best version of yourself.
Every great champion knows that success, overcoming, and winning in life is no accident. Creating individual success is like having a recipe for a great meal. It only works if you know how to use the ingredients. As a best-selling author, entrepreneur, business coach, strategist, and champion, the Lewis Howard Live Show provides you the insider's view on winning. All we do is win, 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 helping you become the best version of yourself.